Hey everyone, it's Zen here. Welcome to an episode of Let's Talk, the series in which I give my personal opinion on games I've played. Today we're going to be talking about Xenoblade Chronicles 2's DLC story mode, Torna the Golden Country. Torna the Golden Country was DLC for the base game of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, a game I thoroughly enjoyed during the end of 2017 and early 2018. When I saw the DLC at E3 2018, I have to admit that I was hyped. While I would have preferred a story that focused on the main party after the events of the base game, the idea of a DLC mode that focused in on the Aegis War intrigued me, and I was pretty hyped to see many familiar faces from the main game. So, let's start off by talking about the story of Torna. Just a foreknote here, because I'm talking about the story and this obviously is a review, this video will contain spoilers for all of Torna the Golden Country and a couple elements of the base game. So if for some reason you have not played the games by now and are still worrying about spoilers, please do not watch any farther. So, one thing that I think the game made a good decision with was choosing to focus on Jin and Laura as the main duo, rather than Mithra and Adam, as in the base game, Adam's story and Mithra's past was clearly fleshed out, whereas the history of Jin and Laura wasn't really touched upon besides a few flashback cutscenes at the start and end of many chapters. I find that the game did a brilliant way of portraying the events of the Aegis War through Jin and Laura's perspective, and the ending sequence ended up tying the DLC to the main game really nicely. In my opinion, the story is definitely a success because it does exactly what it needs to do. The DLC is a prequel, and by fleshing out the backstories of many characters found in the main game, it manages to create a concrete timeline full of stories. Some sad, yes, but mostly joyful too, in the end. Now let's move on to the combat. The combat in this game is very nuanced, just like the main game. The different ways to adjust and enhance drivers and blades are mostly the same. The drivers having WP, SP, their accessories, their pouch items, all of that stuff, and the blades having their affinity charts, the aux cores. All of that stuff is still there, but little adjustments were made from the base game in regards to gameplay. Most of the changes are small, such as the absence of shops forcing you to craft your pouch items, and you not needing to refine the aux cores, which is a big yes from me, because refining aux cores was one of the most tedious tasks that you had to do in the base game. There are some big changes too, such as the ability to use any element in any stage of a blade combo, so you're no longer set to that little tree that you would see in the top right. Also, elemental orbs would be created at every stage in a blade combo, sort of like there's a permanent Orb Master blade on the team. Now, this is completely incredible as battles become much more fast-paced and enjoyable. And even if you are kind of disappointed that you don't get the special animation for getting a level 3 blade combo, certain routes of blade combos do give you that animation. While they might not be the most efficient way to get elemental orbs, they certainly deal more damage, and it's kind of, a little reward for those people that remembered the trees from the base game. But I feel like the combat is a lot more fast-paced, it's a lot more nuanced, and it's a lot more fun because it's way easier to get 8 orb chain attack setups that go into a full burst. And that's one of the things I greatly enjoyed from the base game, and I'm glad it's easier and a lot more accessible to do in the DLC. The rearguard and vanguard mechanics also had a nice change of pace to battles, and switch in arts add a lot more strategy, as many of these arts can use to progress powerful driver combos. The developers really took time when developing the different arts and the different movesets for the blades and the drivers in this game, since you're stuck with set party members throughout the game and you can't summon any other rare blades or common blades. Because of this, I felt that the team in Torna had a lot more synergy than all the party members had in the base game, as in the base game, really, driver combos were almost non-existent. They weren't that useful, you weren't pulling them off often, just because of the fact that everyone was all over the place with driver combos and there wasn't any real reliable setups. But in the DLC, there was a lot more thought put into the different elements of the game, not just blade combos, but also fusion combos that are based off of driver combos, and just the way arts can chain into each other and just really feel satisfying to pull off. A good example of this is Jin and Laura. Laura has an art with break, while Jin's switch in art causes a topple. It's a nice, neat little combo that can teach you the basics of driver combos, and it really shows the amount of thought the developers put into developing the different teams that you can play as in Torna. While I praise the story and combat, my greatest issue with the game is the creation of the community system. The way it works is that by completing side quests, The people you help are added to supporters to your community, which helps you visualize the amount of people you've helped along your journey. This would be a great and a nice little feature if it wasn't mandatory to progress to certain sections of the main story. To finish the game, I feel that you need to complete an obscene amount of side quests, and I feel that it was just content padding, adding to a game that didn't have to be very long to begin with. They could have ditched the whole community system, or maybe made it a bit easier to level up community levels, that way you still get the whole feel of you being a knight of Torna and all that and helping people, but it doesn't feel tedious and overdone by the time that you get to the last cutscene. Despite this glaring issue, I feel that the combination of a nicely written story and fast-paced combat outweighs the inclusion of a tedious game mechanic, that being the community system. This is why, overall, I love Torna the Golden Country, and why I think that more games should strive to have DLC that is this in-depth and nuanced. If you disagree with me, please comment down below. I'd actually love to hear your thoughts on why I'm wrong. Regardless, if you liked the video, please leave a like, and if you want to be notified the next time I upload a video like this, please subscribe to the channel. But that's it for today. This is Zen, signing off.